Hong Kong. The postponement of the 2020 elections restarts pro-democracy protests. In the Merriam-Webster dictionary, democracy is defined as a government by the people, especially by rule of majority. Let's start with an overview. In this image is Carrie Lam, the chief executive of Hong Kong. The position of chief executive was created to replace the office of governor, which was used when Hong Kong was still under British rule. On July 31st, Carrie Lam announced that the Hong Kong elections would be postponed by 1 year, taking place on September 5th of 2021 instead of September 6th of 2020. Carrie Lam is part of the pro-Beijing camp, which is the political party in favor of Beijing government policies being implemented in Hong Kong. The announcement caused protests from the pro-democracy camp, which is the political party in favor of Hong Kong autonomy. Autonomy is the characteristic of a country or region having the freedom to govern themselves and their own affairs. The characters on the pro-democracy flag read Liberate Hong Kong and Revolution of Our Times. The Beijing government in China states that the elections were postponed due to the global pandemic. At the beginning of July, Hong Kong was hit by the second wave of coronavirus. At the end of July, there were over 100 new cases each day. However, the announcement caused unrest because Carrie Lam postponed the elections for 1 year, whereas Hong Kong law states that the elections could only be postponed for up to 14 days in the event of a health crisis. However, the protesters state that the elections were postponed because the Beijing government wanted to prevent the defeat of pro-establishment candidates in the election. Pro-establishment is the same as pro-Beijing. This is 23-year-old Joshua Wong, a democracy activist from the 2014 umbrella movements in Hong Kong, in which sit-in protests were staged to demand the freedom to choose their own leaders. Recently, Joshua Wong was disqualified from the 2020 elections. Let's talk about the police and the arrests. One of the biggest controversies in these protests was the arrest of Jimmy Lai, a free speech icon in Hong Kong, as well as the founder of Apple Daily, which is a pro-democracy newspaper. Other arrests include Fayo Chan, a Hong Kong activist, Raphael Wong, a Hong Kong social activist and politician, and Longhair Long Kwok Hung, a Hong Kong pro-democracy politician. In these past few months, we've seen so much police brutality, but it's not just in America. Very recently, a 12-year-old girl, not much younger than us, was tackled by police who said she had suspicious behavior during protests. Where have we seen this before? In regards to police brutality, we don't need to look far back. Jacob Blake, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Trayvon Martin, and so many more, both the known and the unknown. But let's take a deeper look into the other aspects of these protests. In the continuous protests, people state that China is taking away their freedom to vote, their independence, their democracy. On July 30th, Donald Trump suggested postponing the United States elections. However, on January 23rd of 1845, the U.S. Congress passed the Presidential Election Day Act. The Presidential Election Day Act of 1845 was to set a specific day for a president and vice president to be elected in the year that they should be elected, and was set to preserve American democracy, just as Hong Kongers want to preserve their democracy. I'm growing increasingly frustrated by China's continuous evasion to the truth. My maternal line is from Hong Kong, and I'm growing distressed by the growing fractures in a place once so homely. In 2018, when I visited Hong Kong, police were people you could stop and have a friendly conversation with on the street. However, now we see that people live with the constant fear of the prospect of arrest. In 1997, when Britain signed Hong Kong back to China, it was stated that Hong Kong would have autonomy until the year 2047. And journalists all around the world have said that Hong Kong is under the firm grip of China, whereas it wasn't until recently that China admitted that they took over Hong Kong already. This is just one example to the cause of my frustration. So what? Why does this matter? Why should this matter? This is important because I believe it is important to stand up for your beliefs. In the protest, Hong Kong protesters know the risk of being arrested. They know what could happen to them, but they continue to stand up for what they believe in. There are always losing battles, and the pro-Beijing camp and the pro-democracy camp have had both their ups and downs. But there are also winning battles, and we can't win without standing up for what we want to believe in. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter." Thank you for listening.